At 2:14 a.m., the living room motion sensor tripped. At 2:16, my 10-year-old son, still half asleep, pressed the panic button under his bed, just like we practiced. By 2:19, the police had Patricia Garrison in handcuffs, tangled in my blackout curtains, shrieking about emergency code compliance inspections. She had crawled in through the unlocked laundry room window.
Her reason?
She had a hunch about unsanctioned LED bulbs. My name is David Mercer. I'm a widower and I work in IT. My son, Jake, and I keep to ourselves, which apparently made us prime targets for Patricia Garrison, the self-declared property aesthetics coordinator of Maple Ridge. It started with petty notices, a warning about a non-compliant gnome, actually a leftover Halloween skull. Then a $75 fine for unsanctioned solar pathway lighting. She once rang my doorbell at 6:42 a.m. to scold me about what she called seasonally ambiguous wreaths. The wreath was one my late wife had made. Patricia often crouched behind her hibiscus bushes with binoculars and a clipboard, whispering frantically into a walkie-talkie she claimed was connected directly to code enforcement. The harassment became genuinely concerning after I refused her beautification seminar. My security camera cable was cut clean through. She tried to follow Jake home from the bus stop one afternoon, claiming she needed to inspect his backpack for contraband gum. That's when I upgraded everything: infrared cameras, cloud backup, silent alarms, and most importantly, kid-level panic buttons in Jake's room. We practiced twice a week until it was second nature. Around 2 a.m., I was sound asleep, completely unaware that Patricia had worked herself into a frenzy about my non-HOA approved brand of laundry detergent, a specific concern she later mentioned to the police. She approached my house wearing all black, which she claimed was standard inspection attire. She tried the front door and every window. The laundry room window, which I'd stupidly left unlocked, became her entry point. She slid through like a suburban raccoon on a mission, knocking over a bottle of fabric softener. The living room motion sensor immediately alerted my phone, but before I could react, Jake had heard the subtle beep. My brave little guy was on high alert. Without hesitation, he pressed the panic button, sending the silent alarm to the police with our predetermined emergency code for home invasion. I rushed to Jake's room, locked him in, and grabbed my phone to watch the security footage in real time. There was Patricia, creeping through my living room with a flashlight, actually taking photos of my coffee table magazines and muttering about unapproved reading materials. She went into the kitchen, opened my refrigerator, and started photographing the contents while making disgusted sounds about my choice of non-organic milk. The police arrived in exactly 4 minutes and 12 seconds. They entered through the front door, weapons drawn, shouting for the intruder to show themselves. Patricia, startled, tried to hide behind my curtains but got hopelessly tangled in the blackout fabric. As the officers pulled her free, she shrieked that this was an emergency code compliance inspection and she had every right to be there, waving her laminated rulebook like a federal warrant. The senior officer patiently explained that HOA rules do not override criminal law, and breaking and entering is still a felony regardless of what her little rulebook said. She argued desperately that she was protecting property values. The investigation revealed Patricia had done this to 3 other families in the neighborhood who had suspected strange entries but lacked proof. I had everything on crystal clear, cloud-backed, high-definition video. The footage showed her checking windows, entering through the laundry room, and photographing my refrigerator contents. The media picked up the story within 48 hours. The footage of Patricia crawling through my window aired on the local news under the headline, HOA President or Unhinged Trespasser. The clip of her shrieking, "This is my jurisdiction," while wrapped in my curtains became a viral sensation. The HOA board held an emergency meeting 2 days after the arrest. Over 200 residents showed up, demanding Patricia's immediate removal. The vote was unanimous, and the residents voted to dissolve the entire HOA that night. Property values actually went up once potential buyers learned there was no HOA to deal with. Patricia's legal troubles were just beginning. She faced charges of breaking and entering, criminal trespassing, unlawful surveillance, and endangerment of a minor. Her lawyer tried to argue diminished capacity, but the judge wasn't buying it. The trial lasted 3 days. Patricia took the stand and delivered a 40-minute rambling speech, comparing herself to neighborhood watch volunteers and claiming she was being persecuted for caring too much. The prosecutor simply played the video of her photographing my non-organic milk at 2:15 a.m. and rested his case. Jake had to testify via closed-circuit video. He calmly explained how scared he was and how he pressed the panic button, just like we practiced. Several jury members visibly frowned at Patricia when Jake mentioned he'd been having nightmares ever since she'd followed him home from the bus stop. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Patricia was found guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge noted her complete lack of accountability and the trauma she'd caused. He sentenced her to 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, and ordered her to pay $15,000 in restitution. Patricia's jaw dropped as the sentence was read. She turned to her lawyer and whispered loudly that this couldn't be happening because she had a neighborhood standards committee meeting next week. The judge also issued a permanent restraining order and banned her from holding any position in any registered neighborhood association, HOA, or similar organization within the state for life. When that part was read, she gasped and grabbed the defendant's table. The Midnight Code inspector had finally been put behind bars.